First of all, thank you and a very good evening. Thank you everybody for being here, for taking time and participating in our beautiful event. I am privileged and honored to be part of such a beautiful event. My name is Vinodh. I lead the team in AWS called Geo Expansion. So what is Geo Expansion? Geo Expansion is basically supporting our customers adopt AWS in non-metro cities, basically in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities. And I've been with AWS for 7 years. And in this exciting journey, I've had the opportunity to work with multiple customers across this beautiful country, across various disciplines. So let's get started. So we've actually come a long, long way. Once IT used to be the old world, right? IT was expensive. It was dominated by old guard vendors who were enjoying capital investments. Back then, IT was not really easy to manage, and it was suffocating innovation. Until then, in 2006, we launched the first AWS Cloud Service S3, a simple storage service. That point changed the way the world worked on cloud. Since then, we've been helping businesses across the world to transform and innovate. Since 2006, the cloud has not only become another technological adoption or revolution, it has basically become a movement that is changing the world, the movement that is actually impacting our lives. For example, before AWS came into existence, nobody even thought of a media platform called as OTT. None of us imagined that media would be consumed today in like OTT. Nobody imagined that many startups can come up with new life ideas. For example, Lyle. Lyle is innovating on developing therapies for cancer cure. It basically works by retuning or reprogramming the cells of the human body. It creates a lot of data. Without AWS, this idea could not have been implemented at all. So what is that we are doing today in the world is to help a dream come true. If you have a dream, a business dream, AWS is the channel for you to realize it. Siemens, for almost more than 150 years, Siemens has been changing this world by the great softwares. Almost 24 of the 25 cars today are designed using the Siemens platform. Siemens is the #1 world leader in manufacturing, industrial automation softwares. Siemens was only available for very large enterprises. But today, after migrating to AWS, we've been able to give Siemens as a software as a service for many small customers, giving them the best quality service and product and platform to innovate. The BMW Group runs its Connector Core platform on AWS. Riot Games, one of the most famous publisher of the computer games in the world, is processing more than 50 million events per second on the AWS platform. Privat Bank. It's a very interesting use case. Privat Bank in Ukraine, amidst the specter of war, they were able to migrate 330 IT systems and 4 petabyte of data in less than 45 days and continued their operations. It could have not been possible for people in any world, in any part of this world during a war to access banking services, if not for AWS. NASDAQ, which is the backbone of all financial transactions in the US and which powers the world's top markets, is running their core matching engine and recommendations engine on AWS. The trade that gets settled in every transaction is actually processed on the AWS platform. And finally, in India, in government of India, when COVID struck, nobody even had a clue what it was, right? But we needed an application that can scale and support crores of people in India with their data, with their certificates. They needed a platform that can be readily available. If it was in the old world, they could not have got such a scalability and in a swift manner what is available today in AWS. The government of Maharashtra, the Municipal Corporation of Mumbai, runs its operations completely on AWS. The Odisha Space Station runs very sensitive satellite images stored and processed on the AWS platform. And so many, right? The reason why I'm saying this is many people, especially when we started, told that, well, cloud would not take off. Then after a few years, they told, well, cloud is good, but it's only for startups. After a few years, they did. Enterprises are starting to adopt cloud, but they'll never move their mission-critical applications. But today, we are in a time where there's literally no application that cannot be run on the cloud. And the best example for that, in a very conservative market, the so-called conservative market, actually India is not a conservative market at all, right? The governments of this country are running predominant of their workloads on AWS. What else do you need? And thanks to you, thanks to customers like you, thanks to partners like I2K2, thanks to partners like Reddington, who supported us in this great journey, right? Of the 1,000 unicorns in the world, 83% of them run on AWS. This is according to data by PitchBook, right? And almost 90 startups, 90% of the startups of the Cloud 100 are running on AWS. So why? Why is this innovation happening on AWS? So what are the salient features of us that differentiates? Security and compliance, number one. The breadth and depth and pace of innovation. The most experience since 2006. The global availability of resources. Improved TCO. Sorry, this number is not yet updated. So actually, we've reduced our prices for 129 times as of yesterday. Machine learning. Today, there is literally no customer meeting I end without a discussion on machine learning, right? We are working with customers in the remote part of this country on machine learning. Basically, what is machine? Machine learning is not a great rocket science. If you have a data, we're going to train a model which can take automatic decisions based on your inputs. That's simple machine learning. For example, we are working with a customer in Madurai, Tamil Nadu, where he is a manufacturer of health devices, which basically monitors very critical components of health data. And that data is streamed to the cloud. And machine learning runs on top of it and gives intelligent alerts. This has been deployed in tribal health centers and mostly among tribal pregnant women in the Western Ghats. So due to this, we've been able to save mortality. We've seen less mortality and increased it up to 97%. This is one of the examples for machine learning. Right? The largest community of partners and customers, right? So our experience comes from learning, and that learning is through partners and our customers, right? And for the consecutive 12th year, we've been ranked number 1. So global reach, being local, you can launch global within seconds across any part of the globe, right? I mean, we have regions across the globe. If we have a new requirement that requires IT resources to be launched in a particular geography, we can do it by a click of a button. 96 availability zones, 108 direct locations, and 310 points of presence. This chart gives you a comparison between the number of features offered by cloud service providers. As you can clearly see, across any service today, right, we clearly rank number one. And the number of features. This is called the breadth and depth of features. As you can clearly see from 2011, there's always been a steady new release of features, which is also a reflection that we are onboarding more customers. Because most of our features, our product features, are all direct feedbacks from customers, right? So whatever feature that customer asks, that's what we release in our products. And you can see in 2022, we've launched 5,440 new features, which means we've had an explosion of customer adoption after COVID. Service resiliency. Very clearly, AWS has been the least downtime service provider. I'm not here today to tell you that AWS never fails. Every technology is bound to fail. But how are we architected so that the business is not disrupted by the failure of IT? That's where the real strength of a cloud service provider relies. Right. So this is how we deliver that HA. We operate in a model called region and a zone. A region is basically a geographical location in any country where our data centers are present. And within a region, we have multiple availability zones. And these zones are separated by a distance of 60 to 80 miles. And within zones, we have 2 or more data centers. So technically, in any region, we run more than 6+ data centers, which are separated between 60 to 80 miles apart, right? And we provide HA, inbuilt auto recovery, free of cost for our customers. Your data is replicated for 6 copies across the region, and your data is also replicated within the availability zone, which helps you to recover faster. And we give durability of data up of about 99.11 of durability, which means technically, if architected properly, your chances of losing data does not exist at all. Experience. All of us are working professionals. All of us have an educational degree. But the knowledge what we have today, which comes from the work experience, cannot be matched or it cannot be given by any degree, right? So that is the experience what we have. And if there's one company which can walk the talk on how cloud changed my business, that is Amazon.com, right? Almost entire business of Amazon.com runs on AWS. So we have the experience. We also have the hybrid experience of working with customers and have a plethora of knowledge in supporting hybrid architectures. Manufacturing. Most of you are manufacturing. We are completely redefining how manufacturing is working. We can turn your factories intelligent. Like what people say, your plant is talking. Are you listening? Right. So we can help you with IoT solutions to completely digitize your plant. We can completely change your engineering and design softwares running on AWS. Smart product services, moving your core, moving your design software on AWS, which can give you better design performance, better user experience, and much time faster to market. We can help you with deploying automatic machine learning capabilities in your shop floor to look at quality, to look at safety, you name it, anything, right? So all we need is an idea from you and the investment of your time. And we are ready and we are here to help you with the needed things to completely digitize and transform your operations. For example, Amazon Lookout. It's a predictive asset maintenance machine learning service, which is only trained to read industrial data, which can predict failures, can predict vibration, wrong temperatures that will affect the quality of the end product, etc. You can look out for vision to look at quality of the produced products, end products, and so many, right? And the list goes on. So literally, there is no a boundary that can be fit in with vision. It can be used for majority of use cases in your shop floor. So space. So humans have been always intrigued about space, right? Our quest for space never ends. In 1600s, Galileo invented this telescope, which actually gave a 10x zoom of a human eye. And this is the latest pictures from the space, which gives a completely different view of our understanding of how stars are born, with near-infrared, mid-infrared, and the Hubble Space Telescope image. So like space, there's a vast amount of data in all of our organizations. Analyst estimates that data will cross zettabytes of data in the next 10 years. Like how we continue to explore space, we also continue to expose the vast realm of data, right? And for that, you need the right tools, the right purpose-built database, the right analytics tools, and to make it more intelligent, automated, to run machine learning and AI on top of that, right? So we can help you with all of these things, right? By exploring your structured data, by exploring your unstructured data, exploring your database, and to get the juice out of it. These are a few of the services, analytic services, what we offer. Another example is the ocean. Humans have always been fascinated with the ocean. For many, it is given treasures. For many, it is given adventures. After some point, when humans were not able to go deep further, they used this instrument called bathysphere, which took humans much further below. And after that, people got confidence. And today, we are diving much, much deeper. This confidence was obtained when there was a promise on security, right? So if you have to do whatever I spoke to you on ML, AI, data, you should have that confidence that my data is going to be safe on the cloud. I can very proudly tell you that no other service provider offers you the kind of security solutions what we offer. You take it any industry, any compliance, any certification, any guideline, any norm that needs to be followed, we are there, ready-made available. For pharma, for healthcare, for government, GDPR, you name anything. We have more than 110 certifications which are already certified for the AWS platform. PCI, HIPAA, HITEC, FedRAMP, FIPS, name it. So my colleague Karan is going to talk in detail about how security is going to help you, but this is the gist, right? And this is the breadth and depth of services. So one of the reasons why customers adopt AWS is not just for running the server, storage, and network, right? It's what digital possibilities is possible. That's what powers AWS, right? So as you can very clearly see, the server, compute, and storage and database are just 4 pillars. Rest of all are advanced analytics services, AI services, ML services that can be integrated with your IT to completely transform. Very extreme Antarctica. So there were 2 teams in the beginning who are racing to reach Antarctica first. So one team used ponies, one team used dogs. After a certain time, one team used the pulling mechanism, another one on skiing. Naturally, the pulling team lost because they relied on ponies and not having the right tools. But the skiing team succeeded because they used seal skins in the bottom of their shoes so that they can glide, right? So why I'm giving this example is you should have the right tools to digitize your IT, the right instances to run your workloads. I'm very happy to tell you that we have 600 plus instances, 650 service types, server types, compute types, 650. We do not believe in one size fits all. For compute optimized, for memory optimized, for dense nodes, for running machine learning workloads, for running analytical workloads, we have 650 plus instance types, right? So unless you have the right tool, you will not have the right cost and the right output and the right performance, right? In the interest of time, I'm going to skip this slide. My colleague is going to take you through that. And I want to stress on this, like our partners with Reddington and I2K2. One of the reasons why customers choose is because of the availability of partners. I can come and give you this tech talk, but tomorrow there has to be somebody to completely do the implementation work and to handhold you and act as a bridge between me and you. And that is going to be our partners. And we have the highest community of partners, more than 100,000 active partners across the world and more than 10,000 active partners in India. We have partners in Chandigarh, we have partners in Ludhiana, and my team, more than 13 people dedicated only for Punjab, we are here. Right? So I am here today to give you that promise and ask you to join this movement of completely transforming your dream into reality. Right? And almost the end of the slide. So very happy to inform you that we've been ranked consecutively for the 12th year as the #1 service provider for cloud. #1 on vendor rating. #1 on cloud database leader. This is a very important slide because I want you to look at who all we've crossed. Right? So before us, there were so many database companies, but we've managed to secure the #1 place. Right? So that's only because of our customer obsession and with the experience what we have. Right? So with that, sorry I had to run fast because of the delay, and I hope this was useful to you. You've been a great audience, and me and my team are available here. If you want to have any discussions in talking about any of your requirements or support, anything, please let us know. Thank you.
Hello, can everyone hear? Okay, awesome. So I hope you found what Vinodh was talking, motivating and getting some ideas out of it. How AWS has been working worldwide and in India to help companies innovate, right? What I want to take you now in the next 20 minutes or so is on a journey, right? A journey towards how you will use technology or you can use technology for your future, right? And the future of India. So I'm going to specifically focus very much on doing things local here, right? And what have we seen? As for myself, I'll give a little bit of my introduction. I'm Karan Desai. I have been working at AWS for the past 7 years and have been in the cloud industry for 12 years at this point. My role specifically as a solutions architect is working with customers like yourselves, to understand what is it that you have in your vision, right? What is it that you want to do for your business? And how can AWS technologies convert your ideas into actual real implementations and solutions? Now, throughout this journey, I have worked with hundreds of SMEs because that's what my focus has been throughout my career. And I want to start with a few stories, right? Stories of innovations from across India that we have seen. So I'll just take 3 stories here. And some of the names are hidden because the purpose is more important than the names. I'll just talk to you about the solutions that we are seeing in SMEs. So we'll start from the south in Karnataka. So this is a company that has been working with AWS. They are into silk manufacturing. So their business is a very, very traditional kind of a business where you don't really think about cloud and innovation. When you are doing something like, rearing silkworms, converting them into silk fibers and putting them into silk saris. So what this company did is they started working with AWS a couple of years ago. And from that point, what they have done is they've added technology from AWS to completely transform how the life cycle works. So the first thing what they do with AWS technologies is they monitor the growth of silkworms using image recognition to see what kind of leaves the silkworms are eating, to the point what growth of the silkworm are we seeing. That lets them determine what type of quality of silk it's going to produce in the farm. Once you know that, the second thing that needs to be seen is also like how is the soil quality. Now say these are all the kind of things that are very grassroots level things that typically were done manually, right? Someone will go to the farm and field and see like how the quality of things are. So what they do is they use geospatial data combined with technologies on AWS to analyze that data, identify soil quality, combine them with what is the silkworm doing, use that to determine the quality of silk that is then passed on to the manufacturers. Along with that, also the logistics that needs to be done is automated to determine what quality of saris will get generated from what quality of silk. And by doing all of these, they have completely revolutionized in Karnataka how thousands of silk farmers are currently doing their farming, to the point how are you actually selling the saris. If you come a little further up to Gujarat, here is a manufacturing customer that I have personally worked with. This company is into manufacturing of bearings. Once again, a very, very traditional manufacturing workload where you feel that technology typically traditionally was never a part of it. A lot of it happens like on the shop floor. A lot of things happens manually where somebody is checking and monitoring the quality of equipment and the products. So they started with the idea that we want to do the whole concept of industrial IoT and automate our entire manufacturing process. So the first step is to understand how good our machines are. So for that, what they did is they worked with AWS where we provided them the IoT or the Internet of Things or the smart devices which were installed on the lathe machines itself. What these devices do is they monitor the vibration and the temperature of the lathe machines, which gives an idea of how the machines are working and which machines are probably going to fail if we see abnormal numbers. After that, when those lathe machines are actually creating the product, when the bearings get produced, use computer vision to identify defects in the manufacturing bearings. How they do it is by placing an internet connected camera which uses Amazon recognition, which is Amazon's computer vision technology, AWS's technology, to identify if a bearing that is coming out of the assembly line, is it matching with the standard baseline of what a good bearing looks like? And if it does not, we mark them as defective and move them out of the assembly line. Now, with addition of all of that, then they also added a machine learning element to it to predict when your machines are going to need maintenance cycles. This is again done by leveraging their existing data that they already had, push it onto the AWS cloud, run machine learning algorithms on it, which helps you determine when a particular machine should be taken out of service because it's time for maintenance. So this is the kind of thing that within 2 to 3 years, we have seen them completely automate and make smart the entire manufacturing line. The third story I want to bring it is further north in UP, actually in NCR, where we have this another SME who is working specifically with the government of India to monitor the effluent discharge from industries, right, to monitor water pollution. So traditionally what they used to do is they would put some sensors. Sensors are not new. Sensors have been around for these kind of things for a long time. These sensors would then collect the data that somebody has to periodically go and pull that data in onto hard disk, take it to the agencies and then run those data to see how is the effluent treatment going. Now what they are doing, in fact this is still a work, right now we are working with them to add more features, but what they did is they added internet connected cameras which point at the effluent discharge of the industries. Now from that point, they're using AWS IoT services to ingest all of that live streams of the CCTV cameras into a centralized location where you can monitor the sewage treatment and the effluents from all the different industries, identify where you are seeing the quality of water being bad, take all of that data and share it with the government agencies in real time. And what that allows is a quick feedback cycle where now the government of India has a much better visibility into which industries are the ones causing the most effluent sewage, and reach out to them to correct that problem much, much faster. Right? Now, in addition to this, what they're using is they're using this exact same technology, because now they've mastered the art of doing the internet connected cameras which do real-time monitoring of water, to also use for flood detection. So in Himachal and Uttarakhand, what they're doing is they're working with the local disaster management authorities to install these cameras which will collect the data about the water levels and when it looks like the rivers might have a flood, and send those data to the Meteorological Bureau and to the NDMA, the National Disaster Management Authority. Now, of course, when you're working in these remote areas, you find that there is not always going to be internet connection. So how do we work with all this technology? So for that, they're leveraging something called AWS IoT Greengrass, which is AWS is offering in the IoT space where we can locally connect data. And then when there is data connection available, it will transmit that data in bulk back to where it can be processed. So the reason I wanted to use these examples is just to give you an idea of how, like Vinodh mentioned, right, the use of AWS services and technologies is not limited to the fancy startups based out of metro cities or to like the Fortune 500 companies. This is happening everywhere, right? In fact, SME is where we are seeing most of the innovation happening these days. And that is where I want to just walk you through what we can do, right? So where did this start from, right? The very first thing is a shift in mindset. This is one thing that we have seen common among all of the SMEs who have built or innovative solutions using the cloud, is one simple change in mindset. 10 years ago or 5 years ago, you find that when we go and talk to SMEs, they would say, okay, yeah, we do have some IT needs. We need servers to run those things. If you see today, the big change in mindset is just one word. What people want is solutions, not servers. Now, this is what I would also recommend you to start thinking in the direction of that. If you look at AWS as a company that provides servers, you're not seeing the big picture, right? Because if you just want servers, you can get servers from so many different providers, right? You can get it from co-location providers, from on-premises data centers, from local private cloud providers. So what is the value that you're actually getting by using AWS and not one of those providers is the solutions, not the servers, right? So for example, right, something very simple like running a website. So typically what you do is you want to run a website, you'd say, yes, I want a server. On that server, I will deploy the software that runs my website, and we will run on it. And then what happens when your traffic increases or suddenly your business becomes very popular and now 10,000 people come to your website at the same time. The server cannot handle that load. It crashes, and then people realize that inka to website chalta nahi hai, right? But you can also not invest in having a lot of capacity, because what happens after that flood of traffic goes away? Now there is wasted capacity. So instead, like what we see is, for example, if you're running just a website which is like a simple website where people can come and know about your business and contact you and do those kind of things, we can run it entirely without servers. You don't even need servers. How? Like for example, the actual creative content that goes into your website, right? Whatever is your text and the images and the videos and whatever you want to put on your websites, that goes into Amazon's cloud storage, which is called Amazon S3, which Vinodh talked about. You secure your website using free SSL certificates that AWS provides, because obviously everyone wants to have a secure website. And you deliver this entire website using AWS's global network by using a service called Amazon CloudFront, which is a content delivery service. What it essentially does is, by doing this, you get a website running on the internet which is automatically scaling infinitely, and there are no servers to manage. If more traffic comes in, it will handle it. If less traffic comes in, it will handle it. And you pay for the amount of traffic that you get. So don't have to worry about servers, you're getting a solution. If you look in the other direction, right? I mean, this was a very simple use case. Everyone has data, right? Is there anybody here who does not have any kind of data sitting on any laptop or computer or anywhere? No. whatever business you're running, you have data, right? Now this data can be in the form of PDFs, Excel sheets, even like handwritten data, or it could be like on actual hard paper, scanned copies, images, in all formats. Now, data is with everyone. Not everyone is thinking, what are we doing with this data? Right? That is the one common thing that I find, that whenever we speak to customers or different SMEs, we always ask them, कि आपके पास कितना data है? And they'll say, yeah, we have this many GBs and this many TBs worth of data about our business, our transactions, our customer records, our ERP system, our CMS system. Then the next question I always like to ask is, you gathered all this data, what are you doing from it? And in most of the cases, the answer is, we are just storing it. In the future, we might use it somewhere. So where do you start this journey of actually making your data useful for your business, right? How do we make that something that generates revenue? So the first step of a data analytics journey that any company takes, especially if you are a small business who are just getting into this whole world of data analytics, is by, okay, we need to create some dashboards and visualizations so we can at least get a sense of our data. What are the trends that we are seeing? We have a bunch of Excel sheet which has like 10,000 lines of data, but what does it say about my customers, or what does it say about my trends of my business? What does it say about my anomalies? The first thing you say is, okay, you know what, we need some dashboards so that we can see what is going on. So to build something like this, again, AWS has an entirely serverless data pipeline available in the form of solutions, where you can ingest the data in many different forms. It could be your raw logs, it could be CSV files, Excel files, raw text files. It could be coming from your other existing systems. It could be coming from ERP systems. It could be coming from your on-premises, devices, other third-party providers. Take all of that, filter it out, make it useful, remove what is not required, and create visualizations and dashboards so that you get an insight of, okay, what does it say about my business? And this whole thing can actually be done, again, without requiring any servers, which means, one, it is highly available. When you deploy these things, you don't have to worry that what happens if my one data center or one server goes down, because you're not dependent on a single server at all. It is also cost effective because you are not paying for any 24/7 servers running. You're only paying for the amount of data that you're actually using to create your solutions. And it is inherently secure because AWS is the one taking care of all of the behind the scenes security for these solutions, so that it makes your life much easier, that I don't have to worry about all of these smaller things. Let me focus on my business and let AWS take care of all this undifferentiated heavy lifting. Now, obviously, see, since we are here in 2023, I cannot go ahead, or I cannot end anything unless we talk about AI, right? That's the big word that's everywhere. Now, what I want to do here is take a very different approach at talking about AI. I'm sure you must have heard a lot about AI and artificial intelligence. So before I go into anything, I want to ask a question to the audience. What is it about AI or artificial intelligence that you heard recently that really got you excited or curious? Yaar, ye bahut interesting lag raha hai. Anyone from the audience? ChatGPT. Okay. Why is ChatGPT very interesting? Okay, you type everything and it gives you the solution. Okay, what else? Okay, it can understand how humans talk and it responds back in a human-like language, so you can have conversations. Okay, what else about artificial intelligence or AI have you been reading about or hearing about? Yeah, go ahead. Sophisticated automation. Do you want to speak a little more about it? What do you mean by that? So what kind of automation? It can take decisions. Okay. It's a human brain that is billion times faster than an individual human brain. Okay, what else? I think we had a couple of answers here. This side? Yeah, so Gmail can auto-write responses to your emails, right? I mean, with AI is what they're saying. Yeah, it is making AI accessible to people by providing easy to use solutions, right? That you can use it. Yes, one more?
There was a very interesting case study recently about a company called they shifted almost all their customer service over to AI and they reduced the average waiting time for residents from about 10 to 30 minutes to 2 minutes. So what response what you would use?
Yeah, so AI can do customer support, right? Instead of using a human customer support, you are using an automated customer support agent. Okay.
Besides reducing time, this AI is looking at certain points in data which on routine we ignore or skip because we are not used to looking at. We're taking those points as for granted, but it also takes into account those points which in routine we skip.
Yeah, it is. So AI is looking at things that we tend to ignore as humans because it has been trained using different ways. Okay, so I think we found a lot of examples, right? So I'm going to take maybe another 8 to 10 minutes to talk about where does AWS fit into all of this, right? I mean, we have been hearing a lot of these things. So see, first thing is AI innovation is not new at Amazon or AWS, right? I'm sure all of you or most of you are using Amazon.in, the retail site, right? That has been using AIs for recommendation engines like for the very long time. If you go to the Amazon website, it will suggest you certain things based on your usage patterns. What is that? Behind the scene, it's a machine learning model that uses artificial intelligence, right? And that does processing of 4,000 products per minute. Similarly, if you go to the warehouses on Amazon side, there are 1.6 million packages delivered every single day. This level of stuff you cannot do with just human ways of working. So optimizing like what gets through what logistics carrier, what gets delivered in what order, how things go out. There is a lot of AI that goes in that. How many of you have one of these devices in your house? What is that device? Alexa, Amazon Echo, right? Everyone now calls it Alexa. So yeah, Alexa. How many of you have one of them in your house? Right? So when you talk to Alexa, and how does Alexa also understand your human natural language and is able to respond to things, that is also trained using AI models, right? So before we go into the future, there is something that's available right now from AWS, right, already that people have been using. So if you look at the AWS portfolio of services, like Vinodh was saying, there are more than 200 services, right, beyond just server compute database. There is a vast array of AI services that has already been pre-trained and built and ready for you to use right now. I'll give you an example of few of them. Like Amazon recognition, like I explained in one of my earlier examples. So if you want to analyze your images and videos and identify, like, do facial recognition or do like anomaly detection, for those kind of things, there is Amazon recognition, which is trained on obviously AI model. That is how it can recognize things. There is Amazon Textract, which can extract your text from scanned and documents or handwritten documents and make it more usable. Now again, there is a lot of OCR, right? Optical character recognition, or OCR, is not by itself an AI field. I mean, there are a lot of tools in the market which can identify handwritten things and convert it to printed text. What Textract does is it takes it a level ahead by being pre-trained on millions and millions of documents worth of data to understand context. Like for example, if you upload a handwritten form, and if it identifies, you can identify that there are numbers in it, then there are alphabets in it. But what Textract will also do is it will identify context that, if there is a 10-digit number along with a name, that means that's a phone number. If there is like a 2-digit / 2-digit / 4-digit, that's a date. So then, it allows you to directly put these things into database because it can understand context, right? Then there is Amazon Comprehend, which does natural language processing. So you must have heard of this term called sentiment analysis, or you want to understand that, if somebody is talking to you or giving you some written stuff, are they conveying a positive sentiment, neutral sentiment, negative sentiment, specific keywords out of it? Are they talking about my business in a good way, bad way? Are they talking about one of my products specifically? What does it mean? So what Amazon Comprehend lets you do is directly, feed your existing data sources into it, and it can give you a lot of these kind of insights. Amazon Personalize allows you to like customize applications and content to individual users. So this is like the same thing that you see on the Amazon retail site, right, where it has the recommendation section. If you want to do something like that on your own, right, if you are a seller of something and you also want to do personalized recommendations, you don't have to build it from scratch, because Amazon Personalize can use the same machine learning models that similar algorithms that runs Amazon retail It's available and for you also to use the same way to put into your applications. There's Amazon Forecast where you can take time series data, which means like data coming from sensors, data coming from market feeds, like stock exchanges, all of those kind of things, and predict things about the future based on it. Amazon Monitron, like I was mentioning the example earlier about the monitoring the actual equipment by putting IoT sensors on them, which can do predictive maintenance. And there is more. I don't want to take all of them. But the idea here is that I just wanted to explain that a lot of this AI hype that we are seeing currently is actually readily available for you to start leveraging right now when you start thinking about it. And of course, like the gentleman here was mentioning, I mean, I have to talk about generative AI, right? I mean, compared to the regular AI stuff, now what we hear every day is generative AI. So when I started seeing all this hype about ChatGPT and generative AI, I naturally thought, okay, you know what, I don't know anything about these things. I need to learn what is it and where does it actually fit in. And I have tried to make this as simple to understand, like, if you are not a data scientist, like I am also not, what does it mean for common people like us? And as business owners, what are the different use cases that we can solve with generative AI? So there are a few examples on that, right? So like ChatGPT, you guys are familiar with. ChatGPT is just one of many hundreds of different generative AI machine learning models that are in existence. Right? So although that ChatGPT has become synonymous with generative AI or large learning models, they are not the same thing. It's like saying like all types of bottled water that you see around, we say Bisleri lao ek bottle, right? But Bisleri is just one of hundreds of bottled water brands, right? So that's how ChatGPT is. ChatGPT is just one of a brand. So what do we do with generative AI, right? What are the kind of use cases that we actually see which is beyond just curiosity कि यार मैंने इसको question दिया इसमें से answer आ गया? No, what about real business, right? So obviously, there is one part that people start is the text-to-text transformations where we talk about chatbots, virtual assistants, contact center analytics where you want to automate some of the feeds and they come into your customer service, personalization. So these are all in the realm of customer experience enhancement, right? That how do I make life better for my customers? Then there is a whole area of generative AI which is about boosting employee productivity. Like someone was mentioning that it can generate code. So if you want to do things like conversational search based on natural talking, you want to do creative text generation, image generation for your content, you want to do summarization, right, of long codes. So that is all about productivity. The third part that you see in generative AI use cases are around improving business operations in terms of processing of data and documents. So we're talking about things like document processing, moderation of content. If people are putting all sorts of comments and things into your systems and you want to auto-moderate them, you want to create new data which does not exist, like based on some old data sets, you can do those kind of things. And then there is creativity, right? This is where mostly you will find that if you are just a curious user of generative AI, you might be using ChatGPT, you might have used Mid-Journey, which does like which creates images. If you tell them that I want to create an image of Chandigarh city with snow, so it will create an image which does not exist in reality. Reality mein to Chandigarh mein nahi hoti snow, but it will generate an image which shows Chandigarh city with snow. Right? So these kind of things is what is the creative side of generative AI, right? Where we do image, videos, music creations. Now, just not to take too much of a time, but specifically in a few industries, what we are seeing, right, the generative AI use cases. If you look about manufacturing, a lot of these things are going to be generative AI for manufacturing is going to be about things like, your searching in manuals is obviously one big thing. If you have a lot of machines, you have a lot of documentation, right? If you have a lot of older systems, you will have product designs, you will have design documents, hundreds and hundreds of pages of docs. And if you want somebody to know, कि ये वाला particular issue आ गया है, how do we fix this? So using prompts to like identify from your hundreds and thousands of text to find the right issues that can fix your processes. You can do things like planning for your production and how do we do the inventory and logistics planning by giving it some inputs about what we have been doing so far. So, and there are more, right? I mean, if you are in the financial services, that is where we are seeing, generative AI do a bunch of things like, for example, understanding market sentiments, right? I mean, if I have a lot of details about what has been the trends in the market in terms of who buys my products typically and, what kind of people are likely to used or not used things. So you give them the existing things that you know in terms of how your markets are working. For example, if you are into running something with stock market or insurance, right, or loans, in all of these things, one of the things that is very important is verification of identity of your users, right? So how do we do that? By also taking the bunch of details that we get from somebody in their KYC, right? Right now what you would do is you will collect all of their data. You might probably also have a conversation with them, right? Talk to them, understand what is their profession, business, history. Now, once you have all of these data, what you can do is we can actually leverage generative AI to feed it into models that have been pre-trained to understand sentiments that, okay, if this is the kind of history that that person is having, what is the probability that this person is going to default on their loans? Or like, what is the probability that this person will stop paying for the services they've taken or things like that. So we're seeing a lot of that happen in the financial services. Similarly, also there is tons and tons of documentation there also, just like manufacturing. So how do we summarize that? Like when you go to a bank and you take a loan, they will give you a 200-page documentation saying these are the terms and conditions of the loan. Now, if you want to understand what is one specific thing that, okay, what is the penalty if I miss one payment of my loan, where does it fit in into this 200-page documentation? You can use something like generative AI for users where they can put in their questions, go through the entire list of things, understand context, and give you those things, right? So that we don't have to worry about spending hours over 200 pages of documents. Healthcare and life sciences, there is a lot that we are seeing there also. So it's not just creative fields. You can do outcome prediction for patients. That is one thing that we have actually seen someone working in right now that, based on a patient's history and the data that we have about them, and the data that we have from other patients, what does that predict that if we do this X treatment to this X patient, what will be the outcome or what will be the likely outcome? So even before we go ahead with experimenting with that medicine or starting them on a certain routine, you can actually have a generative AI model evaluate their history and tell that, okay, you know what, if we go with this particular line of treatment, there is a 70% chance that this person will get these improvements with these side effects. Then the doctor can take a call whether we want to do something like this or try something new. So these kind of things with a lot of digital health and patient management system we are seeing. I'm going a little faster here because there is a time to keep and I know there's a lot of stuff that we want to cover, but we are around here, right? So I'll connect with all of you. Yeah, okay, so Vinodh has given me 10 minutes, so I will continue with that, right? Now, this is fairly common, right? In a lot of cases, you will see generative AI is being used a lot in media and entertainment. This is where you will start seeing where people are generating, like completely non-existent pictures, videos, avatars. Like there are some news channels who have started doing this thing where they have an AI news reader who is reading the news. But that is more of a gimmick, right? What you want to do, really what you can do in the media and entertainment industry with generative AI is doing things like generating scripts, right? In fact, there was a very interesting generative AI use case that I am currently working with one SME customer. They are into the business of astrology and horoscopes, bhavishya. So they are actually leveraging generative AI along with the existing tons and tons of text that they have to predict, like, people's, those kind of things, like what kind of horoscope that you want to give to people, what does it mean about their future and all. Now, how scientifically accurate it is, that's a different discussion, but the reason I'm giving you here is that people are finding very, very creative use cases of working with generative AI in every possible industry, right? Right from life-saving to purely for fun and everything in between. So then all of these things being existing right now, where do we go from here, right? How do we even get started with this kind of things? I mean, it sounds very interesting. So where do we go from here? One is, for a lot of these things that I talked about in the last 30 minutes, right? That people want solutions, not servers. For this, AWS actually has a public site called the AWS Solutions Library. If you just search for AWS Solutions, right, you will find this. What we have here is hundreds and hundreds of pre-built solutions to solve specific business problems that you can actually replicate and deploy directly with a few clicks. So we are talking about things like document processing workflow or data analysis dashboard creation or like those kind of across every possible technology, or if you want to add like more security measures to your infrastructure, something even as boring as that, right, but very important. So all of these things to make an SME's life easier, that we don't need to reinvent the wheel every time, there is the solutions library. Specifically around AI and generative AI, right? If that is what caught your fancy, we have a similar public-facing website this available to all of you called AI Explorer. So what AI Explorer does is, again, here you can put in what is your business challenge that you are trying to solve, and it will show you the solutions that you can build using AWS that has already been done and or designed, so that you can understand, okay, this is where I want to start my AI journey, right? And beyond all of this, the third and probably the most important part here is that we are here for you, right? The people. So whatever you have in mind, talk to us. We have seen this kind of use cases. We want to hear more from you, what you want, and what kind of help you can get from people of AWS, right? So first of all, there is a free tier of AWS. If you have never used AWS before, you can actually try out the AWS services up to a certain limits using the AWS free tier. And this is where it's well documented what is free and what is not. So you know upfront, okay, if we are going to try this thing out, is it free or is it going to cost me money? The second and the important thing is the free guidance, right? So we are out here, one of the main job that we do as solutions architect, my team does, is to provide you free technical guidance and sit with you to design solutions for you with the team of solutions architects and business development team. We have a bunch of people from our team actually present here. So we have Anmol there. Hi. Okay, so we have Anmol, who is from our business development team. We also have Shruti there, who is also from the business development team. We have Akanksha, who is a solutions architect from our team. And then we have Vinodh and me as well. So we will all be outside after the sessions are done. Feel free to reach out to us, and set up some time. We can set up some, individual consultations also with you to understand where does all of this fit into your business, right? Now, after the technical guidance is done, right, somebody has to actually build it. Until you will, how will you be convinced that this works? So this is where we go into the proof of concept stage. That, okay, whatever, this idea sounds good. I want to build like an AI chat generation thing, but I want to test it out. So for that, what we provide from AWS side is something called a proof of concept assistance. So what this means is that we will build out a defined scope of a solution with you. We will support you technically. We will also support you in terms of financial incentives, so that you can experiment without worrying that, this is going to cost too much before even I know whether I want to do this thing, right? So again, if you just speak to us, we will, get you started with those things, how we can do this. And that being said, there is a lot of more content that's coming, and also a lot that we can discuss one-on-one. So like this guy is Amazon CTO, Werner Vogels. He always likes to say, don't just listen, now go build. So I'm just going to say the same thing, right? Whatever we have heard today, that's great. But let's start with experimenting things, see where that takes your business. And we are here to help you in that journey in every way, from technical guidance to business guidance to commercial help to hands-on assistance with our partners like I2K2 and Reddington who are present here. So I would love to see what more innovations you guys are building, for the future of India. With that, I will end my session here, and thank you so much for your time.